The next Godzilla X Kong movie finally has a title and release date, and it's set to shake things up big time. So far, the MonsterVerse has been all about titans on Earth, but this time we're headed to space. Legendary announced that the new film is called Godzilla X Kong Supernova, and it's hitting theaters on March 26, 2027. They've already started filming with Grant Sputor, who directed I Am Mother, at the helm. This time around, Godzilla and Kong will be teaming up again to take on a massive world-ending threat. They won't be alone though. There's a bunch of new human characters joining the cast. The cast includes Kaitlyn Dever, Jack O'Connell, Delroy Lindo, Matthew Modine, Alicia Debnam Carey, Sam Neill, and Dan Stevens, who's back as Trapper Beasley from The New Empire, aka the biggest hit in the MonsterVerse so far. The script was written by David Callahan, who also worked on Shang-Chi. Since kicking off in 2014 with Godzilla, the MonsterVerse has included movies like Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters, plus shows like Netflix's Skull Island and Apple TV Plus's Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Altogether, the franchise has pulled in over $2.5 billion globally. Not bad for a bunch of giant monsters smashing stuff. One of the coolest things about the MonsterVerse is how much legacy it has to work with. With decades of Godzilla and King Kong history behind it, the franchise can do a lot more than just wow people with big action scenes and wild special effects. For longtime fans, it's a real treat whenever an old-school kaiju pops up as a new titan. And the crazy part? They've barely scratched the surface. There are still tons of classic monsters that haven't even made an appearance yet. The Godzilla universe is packed with kaiju just waiting for their MonsterVerse debut. Some would be great allies for Kong, Mothra, or Godzilla himself, while others could show up as major threats strong enough to take them all on. These monsters have awesome designs, unique powers, and the potential to bring something totally fresh to the story. Fans are already getting hyped about the possibility of Gigan joining the MonsterVerse, and honestly, it makes total sense. Gigan first showed up in Godzilla vs. Gigan and quickly made a name for himself as one of Godzilla's more intense enemies. This alien cyborg kaiju, created by the Nebulans, wasn't just cool-looking, he was brutal. Teaming up with King Ghidorah, Gigan brought serious chaos to Earth, and even though his origin story was a bit out there, fans loved him for how fierce he was. Gigan isn't just one of the wildest-looking kaiju out there, he's also decked out with some seriously intense weaponry. He's got a built-in jetpack for aerial attacks, a buzzsaw embedded in his chest, and massive hook-like blades instead of hands. In the Zone Fighter series, those hooks could even discharge explosive blasts on impact, adding another layer of danger. His Godzilla Final Wars version cranked things up even more. That Gigan came with grappling hooks in his arms, a claw-like pincer at the end of his tail, and the ability to fire spinning saw blades from his neck like boomerangs, not to mention a laser that shot straight from his eyes. And just when you thought he couldn't get more intense, the Exilians upgraded him with chainsaw arms. Yeah, double-bladed chainsaws. One of the things that really set Gigan apart was how dangerous he was in battle. He's actually one of the first monsters to make Godzilla bleed, using his buzzsaw chest and sharp hook hands. With the Godzilla X Kong Supernova teaser hinting at a space-based threat, Gigan feels like a perfect fit for the story. If the MonsterVerse version keeps his classic deadly look, this could end up being the most intense and violent movie in the series so far. As Gigan's basically the ultimate kaiju weapon, and if he enters the MonsterVerse, things are going to get brutal fast. Another fan-favorite kaiju that deserves a shot in the MonsterVerse is Godzilla Jr. He was a major highlight of the Heisei era in the 90s, basically taking the idea of Godzilla's son and giving it a serious upgrade from the goofy Manila. Jr. started off as an adorable baby, and over the course of 3 films, grew into a full-blown, powerful version of Godzilla himself. By Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, he was a legit force, strong, fierce, and a perfect successor to his father. If he shows up in the MonsterVerse, his baby form could bring some unexpected cuteness to all the chaos. They could either let him grow up gradually across multiple movies like in the originals, or build a whole film around his coming-of-age journey. And here's a fun twist: What if he didn't grow into a hero? Imagine starting out sweet and lovable, only for him to evolve into a dangerous new villain. That kind of surprise turn would definitely keep fans on their toes. Angaras has been part of Godzilla's world since the early days, and holds the title of being the first monster Godzilla ever fought, making his debut in Godzilla Raids again. Looking like a spiky Ankylosaurus-style kaiju, Angaras has gone from rival to one of Godzilla's most loyal allies over the years. Yeah, Godzilla might be rolling with Kong these days, but that doesn't mean there's no space for one of his OG buddies. A solo Godzilla movie would be the perfect chance to bring Angaras back into the mix, and if Supernova ends up being more Godzilla-focused than Kong-heavy, this could actually be the ideal time to do it. Sure, Angaras might not be the strongest Titan out there, but his classic design and long history would definitely get longtime fans hyped. Even a quick cameo would be a cool throwback and a great way to honor the franchise's roots. Next up is King Caesar, who's kind of flown under the radar in the Godzilla universe. When he debuted alongside Mechagodzilla, all eyes were on the big mech, so King Caesar didn't get much love. Even though he was introduced as a guardian deity, he's mostly been overlooked ever since. Design-wise, he's pretty unique. Based on the Chinese Shisa, he's more of a dog-lion hybrid with a humanoid stance, making him feel more like Kong than Godzilla or the other reptilian titans. That said, he could still totally work in the MonsterVerse. Since the franchise already includes titans worshipped like gods, King Caesar would actually fit right in. He doesn't need a huge role, just showing up briefly during a global titan rampage would be enough to remind fans he exists. And who knows, a quick appearance could set him up for something bigger down the road. And last but not least, Space Godzilla looks pretty much locked in for the MonsterVerse. Unlike Mechagodzilla, Space Godzilla is fully organic. He's made when Godzilla's G-cells mix with some kind of crystal stuff out in space. That makes him way bigger, stronger, and more villainous than Godzilla himself, with cool powers like telekinesis and giant crystals on his shoulders. In the old movies, he even kidnapped Godzilla's adoptive son and caused chaos from his own crystal fortress. Fans have been buzzing because of a binary code spotted in the Godzilla X Kong Supernova trailer, which many think hints that Space Godzilla is making an appearance. This would shake things up from the last movie, which was mostly about threats from Hollow Earth. Plus, having another evil Godzilla could be a great way to bring the spotlight back to Godzilla, especially since Kong kind of took center stage in recent MonsterVerse films. Well, that's a wrap for today. Which classic kaiju are you most excited to see show up in the MonsterVerse next? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your picks. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the latest updates on Godzilla X Kong Supernova and other cool movies coming your way. We'll catch you next time.